live from Johnny Donut Studios. And this is the Mad Bomber podcast. And you see the Oracle right now because the Oracle, I got a letter from his attorney and he said that he needs equal space on the show. And so it's either I got rid of the Oracle or he comes on first. You know, you have a very, very tough lawyer firm that you hire. Is it the same guy that has Sam Levitt going to Kentucky? I mean, LSU. I mean, wherever Sam Levitt's going these days? I mean, are you in the same attorney spot?
Well, my attorney is ChatGPT, and I think it's much more decisive than Sam Levitt's attorneys. But I just want you to know that I also, my attorney also requested pet insurance as part of my benefits.
We'll pay it. We already talked about it, but you got to pay for the deductible. So, guys, ever since last week, we're going to roll backwards a little bit. But since Thursday, if you weren't watching football, you missed a lot. You missed a lot. We had Miami. You had the Mendoza files. But if you're from San Diego or if you're a Raider fan and you're a hater and you're a real big hater, look what I found on the internet today. What is that, John?
Ooh. Oh, man. That's cold.
Ooh. Okay, John Spytek hat. You got your John Spytek hat on?
I do, yes. I always got it on. Thank you for the guys up in Sacramento for giving me this hat.
That's a great hat. So, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yes.
Justin Herbert or Fernando Mendoza?
Well, look, Justin Herbert coming out in the draft in 2020, and there were some naysayers that when Herbert came out, but uber talented. To me, one of the most talented quarterbacks in all football, and he had a really good season this year. And considering that he didn't have Rashawn Slater the whole year, he barely had Joe Alt just for a couple games. Has I think a pretty solid receiving core. McConkey, Quentin Johnson has his moments. Keenan Allen, even though he's at the end of his career, still produces. But look, the issue with Herbert is the playoffs. And look, as much as people want to knock Josh Allen for his playoff resume, even though he had a heck of a win this weekend, Lamar Jackson for his playoff resume, the one who's the worst out of all of them is Justin Herbert. And look, he had to play a really good New England team in New England, but you gotta score more than 3 points. I'm sorry. And I get it. It's cold. But look, at the same time, if you want those big bucks, you got to at least go down fighting a little bit more. Because if not, you will be on a milk carton like this. So, look, as of now, I would take the prospect of Justin Herbert over Fernando Mendoza. But that is not to slight Fernando Mendoza at all.
No, totally. And I wanted to give you a tough question because what I saw last night was a horrible coaching job by Harbaugh. There was so many things that I'll tell you what I haven't really gone on the Twitter, the Chargers Twitter, and I will because they're very passionate. I was blown away by how passionate their fans were going into Twitter. And it's 9-3, and you're running these crossing routes that are 10 and 15 yards deep. The player of the game for the Chargers within the first 3 quarters was Vidal. The guy was running the ball great. And what does Mr. Harbaugh allegedly know what to do? Is he usually runs the football.
Yes.
And so he put the Chargers in a very, very tough position, being behind the sticks a lot. Their offensive line, which I agree with Chris Cousin. I won't say his last name because that guy's got to be the best receiver I've seen in football. Ugh, I hate him. I have to turn it down. It's so horrible. But Chris cousin, whatever. Anyway.
Colin's cousin?
Cousin. Hey, if you ain't good enough for daddy, she ain't good enough for me. What Chris Collinsworth was saying at the end of the game was, remember when they have like 5 minutes left, they get the ball back, they're down by 2 scores, and they're putting in their offensive players. They're doing these big they're bringing guys in, which makes the referees stop the game so the defense can now put their players on. And Vrabel did a great job by trotting his guys out there. They were losing 40 seconds of play by their substitutions, and it was horrible. I mean, what is he doing? It looked like he had never coached in a playoff game before, never been in a national championship game. The kid Vidal was running great. The defense for the Chargers was playing lights out for most of the game, but they were on the field. I mean, did you see the play count that they had? It was a horribly coached game that Harbaugh had. And I've seen this when he was in San Francisco before in an NFC championship game against the Giants, and he did the same thing. He left Alex Smith to dry. And I just was like very, very unhappy and felt really bad for the Chargers players, not their fans, as we live in the beautiful San Diego. It was nice and hot today, too. Wasn't it beautiful?
Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah, I got a little
beautiful.
sun today.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
See my cheeks? Yeah, but Justin Herbert. Anyway, oh, well, Chargers, see you next year. And that's 2 years they've been in the playoffs, and they're 0-2 in the playoffs right now. So starting out with our guy, which we are going to show. We got to watch Miami, and what is your thoughts on Carson Beck?
I think he's played really well these playoffs. Now, keep in mind he is an older player. He's had a ton of snaps, and I think snap counts throughout your entire college career is something that's very important in the college football playoffs. A lot of these guys, like Julian Sayin, who hasn't played a lot, he was out early. Some of the other guys too, but the guys, and even in last year's playoffs, Will Howard played a ton of snaps when he was starting at Kansas State too. And then the Notre Dame quarterback, Riley Leonard, was a transfer from Duke. So he also had a lot of snaps throughout his college career. So I think that's something going forward, don't look so much. I mean, clearly you can't look at the rankings so much because Indiana is the only team with a top 4 seed to actually play in the Final Four, as in the 2-year sample size that we have of this current playoff model. But I think that Beck has looked good. There has been some instances where I think he throws into traffic a little bit too much. But I think overall, I think his running game's been really well. And he's able to throw off play action a little bit. He's got a really good receiver in Malachi Toney, who's only a freshman. So I'm really impressed with Beck, and he's definitely raised his draft stock. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's a second-round pick now.
Wow.
I really would.
And you know what? He showed a lot of poise in both of those last drives. And I'll tell you what, this goes to show you Notre Dame that when they selected these 10 teams, Miami got in because they beat Notre Dame. And that's a great defense. The Miami has a great defense, and they they run the football just as good as anybody in college football. So if you think Fernando Mendoza is going to come and roll these guys, it's going to be a tough game. They have a great defense, and they disguise a lot of blitzes very, very, very well. That's a great team. Moving on to the Friday game. After that, one last thing. What did you think about Trinidad Shambles?
I thought he played well as well. Now, I saw that his waiver for another year of eligibility got denied. So it looks like, I don't know if he's going to appeal it and just kind of wait, or if he's going to come out in the draft. I think it'd be best for him to come out in the draft and just kind of get the ball rolling with his NFL career and not try to dilly-dally in college anymore. I understand you get paid in college now, but at the same time, you're an older guy. You were able to put yourself on the scene, and now you could probably be a second-round pick as well, maybe a late first. Who knows? I would assume he's not a first-round pick because he has a limited just purely based on the limited sample size. Even though he has looked good in those samples, and he was able to get better as the season went along. When he started out, I remember the first Georgia game they played. He didn't look so hot. But I have been very impressed with him, and I'm excited to see if he goes in the draft this year, which I think he will. I don't know if he's going to kind of go back and forth with the NCAA for a maybe, when you could definitely go in the NFL draft, maybe go to a really good situation. Who knows? Maybe he goes to a team where there's an older quarterback where he could kind of sit and learn for a little bit. or a quarterback gets hurt and he's able to get his chance and he's able to play with a really good offensive coach. So I think there is a very bright future for him as well. And he's got some moxie to him as well. That's what I like about him.
Yes, he does. Guys, if you like this, please put like. It helps out. I guess we're really, really, really close. So, guys, it would be nice. It would be really, really nice to have you guys like it. And if you do like Fernando Mendoza, put a like right now.
One time with Kalon Black. Plenty of time. Mendoza, another shoulder throw, and a catch in traffic. As dramatic as the moves were in Eugene, third down and 4. He's on target, caught the tight end.
Right there. What are some of the things that you see right away in this video that jump out at you?
Well, the big thing with Fernando Mendoza is that a lot of his throws are outside the numbers. And we're going to spend today talking about potential Raiders head coaches that could be a good fit for Fernando Mendoza. And that's the number one question that John Spytek and Tom Brady have to ask all of these coaching candidates that come through the door. What is your plan to develop Fernando Mendoza? That is question number one for the Raiders, assuming that they don't trade the pick and they take Mendoza. What is Mendoza as a quarterback from college? He's a guy who lines up in the shotgun predominantly. A lot of times he's in the pistol, which means he's kind of not he's like maybe 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and there's a back right behind him. So think of Ashton Janty being kind of being in the eye, right, dotting the eye right behind Mendoza. And they run a lot of run pass options. So Mendoza will either hand it off or he'll throw a pass. And a lot of those passes are to outside the numbers. And he could throw it deep outside the numbers. He could throw it shallow outside the numbers, but he's predominantly an outside the numbers thrower. And he's very accurate throwing outside the numbers. So for all these coaches that come in, whether it's a defensive coach, who's going to be your offensive guy that's going to be able to come in and play and make sure that you're catering an offense to Mendoza's skill sets? Or if you're an offensive coach, what of your offensive scheme can you apply to a quarterback like Fernando Mendoza in his skill set?
The offensive line. Mendoza. They go with a slot formation. They get Cooper lined up against the safety and Aaron Flowers, and you don't have a lot of room as a quarterback. He was a play. Here's that running ability we talked about earlier. First down and much more.
Right there on when he ran the ball. There is a lot of talk from a lot of guys, especially in the scouting, a lot of scouts, and there's some scouts that are real haters about Mendoza's athleticism, which I'm sorry, but I haven't seen. And let's go ahead and take a look at that because I want
on their own 20. Mendoza has time, surveys. He's going to try to run. He gets the edge. He's more athletic than you think. Mendoza.
We're going to watch this again. And again, let's see I think it's brilliant how he's noticed this right side blitz and he escaped. And again, I know these guys are not pros, so I'm not going to go ahead and try to put this guy on a pedestal and say, look at what he's got. Look at the athleticism. But his hips are not tight when he's moving at all. And let's watch this when they're going to show this right side blitz.
With a first down and a huge third down pickup.
Great job by Fernando Mendoza because Oregon, I think they kind of had him fooled. They brought pressure from the slot from his right side. It looked like man-to-man coverage from the beginning. You'll see the safety drop down and be in coverage. He didn't like it, just took it off and ran. We talked about his athleticism. And at this point in the season, quarterbacks, even the quarterbacks that don't typically use their legs, they will in these situations. He did right there on the money down.
I like, again, I don't want to go backwards, but there was a quarterback that played with us that just had very, very tight hips, but was fast. And this guy has a nice hip movement. And even at the end of that run, you seen him kind of do a little pirouette jump because he thought somebody was coming under him. I believe this guy's very athletic. I think that when you're 6'5", it's, it doesn't look as good as it does when you're a guy 6 foot. It just looks different.
I agree with you. And when he runs, it looks a little awkward, I will say. And I thought Pat McAfee did a really good job of explaining that he's more athletic than you think. And I'm sure that McAfee probably hears a lot of the noise too that you're referring to, where some people are maybe doubting his athleticism a little bit, and that's why he said something like that. But look, he gets the job done, and he's got enough speed to get away from some guys at the college level. Will that translate to the pro level? I think it will a little bit. He's not going to be a burner. He's not going to be Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson. But every quarterback nowadays, except for maybe Matt Stafford, has some scrambling ability. Yeah, and him too. But I think he has competent scrambling ability. And the thing with him too is he's for the most part, the one play that I didn't like was the one where he fumbled in the Oregon game, and he was lucky. They were lucky to recover that ball. I wonder if that could have been maybe a turnaround moment for Oregon if they would have recovered that. But I think he's a pretty smart runner too. He's able to kind of understand where the rushers are coming from, and he's able to weave around them, and he's able to set up his blocks downfield when not just the linemen but also the receivers understand when he's scrambling as well. And I just think the number one thing with Mendoza, whether it's throwing the ball or when he's scrambling, is he's really good at reading defenses, and he's just very advanced with that. And it's just something that you don't really see at the college level. And a lot of people think that because he's so good at reading defenses, he's kind of maxed out. Like we hear with Dante Moore, Dante Moore has higher upside, but no one's talking about the upside that maybe Fernando Mendoza has.
Right.
Where even though he's really good at reading defenses now, he may be able to even get better at it by, I don't know, having dinner with Tom Brady.
Well, who's your dream dinner guest, past or present?
There's a lot of past that I'm definitely going to forget about. And, I don't want to, so I'm just going to keep it to the present.
Okay.
The present, I would say my dream dinner guest is Tom Brady. He's someone that I've looked up to my entire life, and I really not only love his play on the field, but his resilience and the way that he's conducted himself throughout his career. I was actually born in Boston, lived there 1 year for my dad when he was in medical residency up there, and he's been a special role model for myself and a special, idol. My role model and my idol is my dad and my mom, and I love them to death. However, football role model to follow is always Tom Brady, as he's had such a resilience, and that's a thing that I think the Hoosiers have shown great this season. Whether it's Iowa, Oregon, or Penn State, resilience has always shown up, and that's something that I do attribute to watching Tom Brady growing up.
Wow. Well, Oracle, you have your John Spytek hat on again.
Yes.
Looks like he's going to get his wish. As soon as the game's over against the Canes, and I'm not that guy who's a homer as soon as he beats Miami. Hey, man, this is a good team. People think that they're going to destroy Miami. That's a very, very good team. Very fast team. Very good. One of the guys is out. I forget his name for half because he did that targeting, which was a BS call on the targeting. That was bull. That was horrible. They've got to revisit that where they can actually, that's just wrong to take a player away from a team who's in the playoffs right there, because that was not targeting. That was just tackling. And if you don't know the difference, then you don't know how to play. I'd like to hear Mina Kynes tell me what she thinks about that.
Well, she can tell you.
I'm sure she could. I'm not a hater. I don't have a resentment. But what I do think is that as soon as this game is over, I know they get so many visits. Each team gets a visit. They got to bring this guy in immediately and see where this guy's head is. And what you see, I think, is what you get with him. And after he's been interviewed by Tom, he gets to go out with Tom Brady. Where do you think they're going to go, Oracle? Where do you think their dinner is going to go to?
I think they're going to go to the Baja Fresh at the.
That's mine. They can't do that. That's mine. I think they go to Bubba Gump.
Bubba Gump. Yeah, definitely. Why not? Load up the shrimp platter.
Bubba Gump. So after that, do you think Spytek is going to ask Fernando Mendoza what coach he wants? Do you think Signetti may get like a sniff? If it's, I mean, I talked with my son Kyle this morning about this in detail. If the Raiders were interested in Signetti, they've already asked if he would be available for an interview, right? After everything's done. You have to say, behind closed doors, hey, you know what? Don't say nothing. You don't say nothing. We don't say nothing. Nobody says anything. But Kurt, would you like to interview for the job? And if you're the Raiders, do you ask Fernando, would you like to bring Signetti along with you?
Here's the one thing that I think would prevent them from Tom Brady and John Spytek from asking that question is I think Brady and Spytek really want someone that's going to be aligned with their vision.
Okay.
And even though Curt Cignetti obviously is forming his legacy of success at the collegiate level, I think he could work as an NFL coach? Yeah, in the right system, I think. But Cignetti's going to want now. Cignetti, remember, Mark Cuban's the one who's really funding that Indiana program. So right. Indiana's not broke. Now it's funny that everyone talks about Lane Kiffin going to LSU. Curt Cignetti could have went to Penn State if he really wanted to, but he chose to remain at Indiana. And part of the reason why is Mark Cuban opened up his checkbook. And look, he has complete autonomy at that program. I think it's a big reason why Nick Saban never went back to the NFL is because he knew that at Alabama, he would always have complete autonomy over his program. He doesn't want to answer to an owner or a minority owner.
Okay.
Or a
flash quiz. Flash quiz. Who's the most popular college coach to ever go to the pros?
I mean, I would think. I guess Saban in terms of popularity because he did go to the pros.
No.
Who are you thinking
had
of?
the most success in the pros from college?
Oh, Jimmy Johnson.
Okay,
right.
Jimmy Johnson. Who had this? Who was close to Jimmy Johnson?
I'm lost.
He was the coach of your team this year.
Are you talking about John Madden?
Pete Carroll.
Oh. You know what's funny is that I just can't. After this season, when you say success, the last thing that comes into my head is Pete Carroll.
Yeah. So got you. I'm going to give my son Kyle and I had this discussion today. And it's like, who was the hottest guy coming out of college? Urban Meyer. Oh, he's going to turn around. You had Urban Meyer. Saban quit after 5 games or 6 games with the Dolphins. He went back. He quit. He took his ball and went home. So So John Spytek, let's go ahead. You're John Spytek now. And I think Carmen is in Hawaii. If I saw Ola, you should say what is Hawaii in Hawaii?
I just know Ohana. That's it.
Okay, Ohana. Anyway, so okay, Oracle, this is your show now because your attorney's bleeding me, and I'm just not going to be. Oh, she said Cabo.
Oh,
hola, amigo.
Yeah.
I do think Sig is different from Saban or Kirby Smart. We'd like to know why in detail. I would like a 5,000 word essay and have it before the end of the show, because Oracle's boss is
ChatGPT.
Okay.
Yeah.
First on the coaching carousel, you have a vision. We are going to talk coaches for the rest. We're done with Mendoza. He's not a Raider yet. I wish, I hope, I wish. And if I was a betting man, and I am after November 1st in the NFL season and until the Super Bowl, I bet it's Mendoza. No doubt in my mind. No doubt. Memphis Reigns, if the Raiders get a ridiculous generous offer, should they take the deal? like Dallas did with Herschel Walker? My son gave me this question too, Kyle. No. How many first-round draft choices would you give Patrick Mahomes 5 years ago? Huh?
Well, I here's the thing. I wouldn't compare Mendoza to Patrick Mahomes. I don't think he has that.
I'm sorry. I understand that. And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you pass this kid up and he goes to the Jets and the Jets are in the Super Bowl all the time. You have to take this guy. Hey, two things are going on right here. And I hate to cut you off, but I got to do this because what is one of the worst problems you have at Allegiant Stadium every year?
Visiting fans infiltrating.
Okay. You have to build a fan base in Las Vegas. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you going to build that with Spencer Fano and then next year you're going to build it with somebody else? No. Right now, you just had the chips fall to you. I'm sorry. I've been a Raider fan since 1968, and I am telling you right now that this is you forget about Jamarcus Russell. Forget. This guy's not Jamarcus Russell. He's not. If anything, if he's going to fail, he's going to fail because the Raiders failed him. Okay? This guy is not Jamarcus Russell. There's no way that the Raiders and these little kids that live in Las Vegas, these transplants who daddy came from Chicago that I talked to at the games, or the Chiefs fans that come to the games, all these transplants, Rams fans, I'm telling you right now, they are looking for a hero. Raider dad is looking for a hero. And if you want to change this team so that Las Vegas has their guy, you have to get this guy. And that's the bottom line. If their Raiders fail this guy, it's not because of this guy, because this guy is ready to go to the next level more than anybody I've ever been around as far as the Raiders are going to be in the draft for. Everybody was very, very high about Derek Carr. And as soon as he was good until he broke his leg. And I'm sure that this guy's got a lot more of a ceiling than Derek Carr does. So that's what I'm saying. I will not. The acoustics suck. Instant replay only if it's not against us. Oh, we're talking about all the what's wrong with the Legion. Kyle, my son, yep, instant replay. They don't play instant replay. And as well as instant replay. Wow, look at this. Acoustics suck at Allegiant. Bring the coach one development. Is it Harbaugh? We're going to get into that, Carmen. We are going to get into that. What I'm saying, I just had to go on my rant because right now, as a Raider fan, I want this guy. I am one of those guys that want to see 59, 60,000 Raider jerseys at the game. And if you get this guy right now, how many number 15 jerseys are going to be in that stadium game one? Okay. That's what I'm talking about. This whole going to Vegas and going into the Luxor and seeing red, blue, green is just driving everybody nuts. And we've had to take it. And it's time for us to get our guy. So when I go to see the Raiders play the Chiefs, the 15 jerseys aren't red.
No, they're silver and black.
Silver and black. So, Mr. Spytek, who are you going to go ahead and go through your coaching process with me?
Yeah, definitely. Why don't we start out with Kevin Stefanski first? We'll talk about him first. So,
okay.
Now let me address Carmen's question before let me get that out of the way first. I think John Harbaugh would be the number one guy that would make Raider fans cheer the most if they were to see that across the ESPN ticker of Raiders hire John Harbaugh. I think that would definitely get the fan base most excited. However, my issue with that is, again, Tom Brady and John Spytek. Tom Brady being the minority owner, he's not going anywhere. And then John Spytek is the hand-appointed guy by Tom Brady. So I've said this before, John Spytek has very stable job security, in my opinion. If you bring in John Harbaugh, first of all, he's going to cost a lot of money, and we'll bring that up in a little bit. But the other thing is, does John Harbaugh want to answer to Tom Brady and John Spytek, considering the track record of success that John Harbaugh has? Now, John Harbaugh has his pick to go pretty much anywhere. that he wants to go. I think John Harbaugh is going to pick a place where he could have his GM, the personnel department is going to answer to him, and ownership is going to defer to him and not anyone else. So I don't see that really gelling with the Raiders. And for that reason, I don't think John Harbaugh is really a serious candidate for the Raiders. What about you, Johnny? Do you disagree with me?
I totally agree with you 100%. I think he's going to come in and he's going to want to play Bill Belichick. And he's going to want to come in and have a lot there. Well, I get a lot of say in the personnel decisions, and I'm the last word. See John Gruden, see Cleve Farrell, see Jonathan Abrams. Okay, that's why I don't want those draft choices either.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is that him and Harbaugh and Tom Brady do not come from the same school of football. So that's where I think the friction might play out with. Now, to Kevin Stefanski, I think he would be the second guy that if ESPN were to play it across the ticker, Raiders hire Kevin Stefanski. I think that would be the second guy that Raiders fans would be most excited about, namely because he's a proven head coach. He's a two-time coach of the year. He's had some bad seasons, but he's had some really good seasons considering the quarterback play he's had in Cleveland, whether it was revitalizing Baker Mayfield for a season. He got Baker Mayfield to the playoffs. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in a playoff game. And then it eventually just kind of what happened was Cleveland wanted to get kind of happier than happy, and they wanted to they thought they were getting an upgrade with Deshaun Watson, and that was a massive mistake. And then Baker got traded away because he was not as good as Deshaun Watson in their eyes. And he had, Kevin Stefanski had to manage that whole thing. And he had Joe Flacco come in, and he was able to get Joe Flacco to play well for a little bit. It took him to the playoffs. Now, the interesting thing about Kevin Stefanski, first of all, his background, he's an Ivy League guy. He played at the University of Pennsylvania, an Ivy League school. And the thing you have to remember with the Cleveland Browns organization is it's a lot of Ivy League guys in that organization, whether it's Andrew Berry, Paul DePodesta, who's no longer there. I believe he's with the Rockies now.
Yeah, he's in the baseball now.
So I'm sure when Stefanski interviewed for the Cleveland Browns, I'm sure that the Ivy League connection is something that really jived with all of them. That really helped him get the job there. So I think with that, that's something that you got to take into account. He spent most of his career in Minnesota, in the Vikings organization. So that's really where he came about. And one of his greatest influences that we'll get to in a second was Gary Kubiak, because Gary Kubiak was an offensive consultant in Minnesota in 2019, and Kevin Stefanski really learned a lot of football from him. And it's interesting that the Kevin Stefanski system and the Kubiak system, and I say Kubiak because there's Gary Kubiak, and now we have Clint Kubiak, who's a very hot commodity on the coaching search. And they run a system that is very under center. It's a lot of heavy personnel, so multiple tight ends, a fullback here and there. And it's a lot of running the ball and throwing off play action from under center. Now, we got to ask ourselves this question. How does that fit well with Fernando Mendoza, who played almost exclusively in the shotgun? And with Stefanski and Kubiak, they like to throw the ball over the middle of the field off play action. Now, what did I tell you earlier? Mendoza likes to throw the ball outside the numbers. So again, how does the system that Stefanski's had success with, how does that mesh well with the new quarterback who's going to be coming in? So these are all questions that Tom Brady and John Spytek have to ask either Kevin Stefanski or Clint Kubiak. And I'm going to merge those two together because I think they run very similar systems. I think you're getting a lot of the same. The only difference with Kevin Stefanski is that he has experience as a head coach. So that would mean he would command more money from the ownership group of the Raiders. So if you were to go with Stefanski, you would have to pay more, whereas the Raiders may be more inclined to go the Clint Kubiak route because he's never been a head coach before, and he's going to be a little bit cheaper.
It's back to the Mendoza under center. I believe that, and again, you're how many college quarterbacks are under center, and that's kind of that's kind of where I'm a little bit worried as well, as that's definitely a different system. But I could see. I don't think that Fernando Mendoza would have a problem going under center. People try to say he's not athletic. I believe he's athletic, and I believe he's a very hard worker. I would be different if it was Jamarcus Russell. And and then I would say, well, this guy's not going to be, he's a fat, you know what, and he's not going to be able to do it. Body types are similar with Darnold and Mr.
Mendoza.
Very similar. I'm with my son, Kyle. I like Kubiak right now. I do like Stefanski. I just believe that he's been there. The question I have for you, Oracle, is, was Stefanski on board with getting Deshaun Watson?
I would think not.
I mean, but it's his team. He's got Baker Mayfield. They gave the number 1 overall pick for Baker Mayfield. And next thing you know, you're paying $250 million tax or non-cutting, giving away all kinds of draft choices. Bob, that's what I would like to know. If I sit down, if I got my John Spytek hat on, I'm going to sit down and ask, hey, were you the one that liked Deshaun Watson? Because I'll tell you what, one person who loved Deshaun Watson was John Gruden. John Gruden was in love with Deshaun Watson. So everybody whiffed on that? Okay. As long as he says, you know what, I did. I was in there. Or was he a part of that? Look at we got our Niner resident. Don't talk about my man Jamarcus. Oh, I had to talk this guy off the ledge way before the Eagles game. I could say there was some Niner fans, and I won't mention names, wink, wink, who were very worried about that game yesterday. I did take the Niners on my poll, guys. But so Kevin Stefanski, we just did the hand wash on Kevin Stefanski. We're into the Clint Kubiak. What do we see with Clint Kubiak that may? What are the pluses on Kubiak quickly, and what are the minuses on Kubiak?
Yeah, well, Clint Kubiak. Actually, not this past year, but the year before, he was in New Orleans with Derek Carr for a little bit. And with Kubiak, with whether it's Gary Kubiak or Clint Kubiak, their main thing is running the outside zone. So that means the running back is aiming for the outside hip of the tight end. And then as the holes kind of close up, they're working their way back towards the middle. And then they find a one cut and go. And then with the quarterbacks, it's a lot of play action from under center. And it's a lot of movement from the pocket too. So it's a lot of bootlegs, kind of like how you would see John Elway in the Mike Shanahan system. Because remember, Gary Kubiak played for Denver under Mike Shanahan. So it's a lot of that stuff incorporated with it as well. The thing with Clint Kubiak in Seattle this year is they utilize a lot of multiple tight ends. They have A.J. Barner, who was at Michigan, and is turned into a pretty good tight end for them. They also drafted a tight end out of Miami, Elijah Arroyo. Even though he's hurt, they were utilizing both of them in 2 tight end sets. So, and that would work with the Raiders, who have Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers. So you would definitely want to be intrigued by a coach who utilizes 2 tight end sets coming to the Raiders with their personnel. The one issue I have again with Kubiak, and I'll say this with Mendoza, it's not so much the under center thing that worries me as much. It's more of the throwing over the middle of the field when he's been more of an outside the numbers thrower thrower in college, because I think that's a lot of a harder transition, because lining up under center is one thing. You could learn your drop backs, and you're still reading the same coverages. But if you have a coach whose primarily his specialty is utilizing play action to find guys over the middle of the field, we don't know if that's Mendoza's skill set. So, and again, Kubiak could be it looks like he's a really good offensive play caller. He could be a really good head coach. But at the same time, we got to make sure as Raider fans that we're bringing in a guy who has a history of utilizing, seeing what the Raiders have in their number one pick. And they're going to say to themselves, hey, I'm going to really tailor my system to what this quarterback does well. Now, Kubiak might come into the interview and he may say all that. He's like, hey, listen, I've seen how Mendoza plays. I know you've seen my tape in Seattle, and we're going to try to merge the two together. I'm going to really, especially with Mendoza in his rookie year, we're going to try to maybe do a lot of the same stuff he did in college, whether that's in the shotgun more or in the pistol more, throwing outside the numbers. And as the more games he gets in the league, we're going to get him under center, play action, throwing over the middle of the field. Now, because the thing with Mendoza is he's 6'5", so he's tall and he can see over the line pretty well. So he should be able to see. And look, Mendoza's a guy who's studies really well. He prepares really well. And I think he's a guy, and Brady was really good at throwing over the middle of the field. So as the more dinners he has with Tom Brady at Bubba Gump or Baja Fresh, wherever they're eating at, I think Mendoza could eventually learn how to be a really good middle of the field thrower. And this is what I'm saying about the upside with Mendoza, where I think we need to talk about that more often.
Okay, so wrapping up with Clint Kubiak. My son and I agree on this too. I don't think he uses the running backs well, and the running backs do, because the running backs aren't a big part of that offense, as I would like to see Ashton Genty be. When we're throwing to tight ends, we don't have a Smith Njigba on our team at all. But I do believe that the downside with him with Kubiak is I don't see a lot of explosive running back. Like when you can get the running back, like when you got the running back, like actually we got against the Texans. Why am I drawing a blank for our offensive coordinator, Greg, whatever his name was? He got Genty out in some passing where he got the linebacker one-on-one with Genty.
Yeah.
That's what I think that they really need to do. And so moving to this guy right here, LaFleur from the Rams, this is somebody that's intriguing. What do you think about him? And the reason I'm bringing it up, because he has been an offensive coordinator before with the Jets, and there was some things he did well with the bad team.
Yeah, definitely. And I really like Mike LaFleur. And the thing I like about him the most is he's well-schooled. He was a small school college coach for a while, but then he came into the league in 2014 when Kyle Shanahan was with the Cleveland Browns as an offensive coordinator. He was on that staff. Then he went with Kyle to Atlanta for a little bit. Then he went with Kyle to San Francisco. He was the passing game coordinator and the wide receivers coach. And then in 2021, he was the offensive coordinator for about a year and a half with the Jets when Robert Saleh was the coach. Now, Robert Saleh and Mike LaFleur are really good friends. I think he was even like best man at his wedding. And now he's the offensive coordinator, even though he's not really the one calling plays, because that's Sean McVay's the one who has the ultimate say over the offense. He's really involved in the game planning. And so this means that he's really well schooled. It's some of you guys work professions where you're contractors or you work construction, and you're able to look at a guy's resume and you're like, man, this guy's worked for a lot of good foremans. I think he might be able to make a really good foreman.
Yep,
and
there you go. That's perfect.
Whether it's working with Sean McVay, spending a lot of time with Kyle Shanahan, this guy really knows a lot about offensive football. Now, it's a little bit of a similar scheme where it's under center, play action. But with Stafford, it's not so much bootlegs and stuff like that. But I think the thing with McVay and Shanahan is they're able to tailor their offense to whoever their quarterback is. They've shown that whether it's Jimmy G, Brock Purdy, or with Sean McVay, whether it's Jared Goff or Matt Stafford, even when now remember Shanahan and McVay worked together in Washington. They were part of that staff with Robert Griffin III, and they were there when Robert Griffin III was a rookie, and they kind of had to tailor that scheme to marry what RG3 was doing in college to concepts with what Mike Shanahan has done throughout his time in the league.
And those coaches have always been able to be more of a chameleons. I mean, look at how these last couple of years, you've seen McVay chameleon to tight ends. He's using more and more athletic tight ends, as you saw the game, how he won the game against Carolina. I mean, those were some great throws. And again, they do have Puka Nacua, and they do have Devontae Adams there. But that's another thing that I like about this tree more than them all. And I do like LaFleur, and I do like Kubiak. I think I like LaFleur a little more just because he is that Sean McVay tree. And somebody who's been with Sean McVay from the start is this guy right here, Mike Shula.
Yeah, and one more thing I want to say about Mike LaFleur is that Mike LaFleur runs what's called a peer progression offensive system. So what a peer progression is you're looking at receiver number one, then you're looking at your second read, and then it's either third read or it's a check down or you're running it. Whereas some coordinators, like Josh McDaniels, for example, runs what's called full field reads. So that's a little bit different. That's where you're kind of keying in on one or two defenders, and you're seeing if it's either man or zone, and then you're going to work this side of the field or you're going to work that receiver. And it's a lot of eye manipulation where you're trying to mess with the defense. Where and the reason I like that is because Mendoza runs a pure progression system at Indiana where it's 1 to 2 or take off. So I think that would be with Mike LaFleur, it would be a good transition for Fernando Mendoza coming in from his system at Indiana to having a coach who has an understanding and a background of how Mendoza could have a plan for success. But with Chris Shula, this is a guy who I really like. You know, he's the thing with the Rams defense is they have a lot of low draft picks. I mean, outside of Jared Verse, it's a bunch of day 2 picks and a lot of day 3 picks on their defense. And he gets them to play really well. Now, I think the Rams do a good job of playing complementary football and making sure their defense isn't on the field a whole lot. But with Chris Shula, I mean, look, I'm not sure if he's related to Don Shula.
He is. He's the grandson of him.
Yeah, so comes from a football family, and just kind of, I don't know his age, but just kind of looking at his picture there, seems like a young guy. And look, this could be kind of and here's the thing, a lot of people talk about Robert Saleh, but I've seen how that looks, and I know it was with a dysfunctional organization, but I think when you get a retread, you kind of get a lot of the fan base is kind of like, I've seen him already, and they're much more apt to write a guy off who's been a retread because they've seen him fail already. So they're like, oh, why did we hire that guy? He failed over here. Whereas with Chris Shula, we don't know how he is as a head coach. So
he came up the ranks everywhere he's gone, though. Even in college, he started out as a linebacker coach, became a DC. Same thing. He was quality control with the Chargers, comes over with McVay. Boom, boom, boom. He's riding up the ladder. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen to guys that aren't very good. And his last name's only going to get him a year or two. It's not going to get him 5 years in a ring and a play and some NFC championship games. This guy is another guy that really, really, if I was to hear his name called, I would say that I'm okay with that. And I know that a lot of people, here's a good one too. Saleh is an awesome DC, not a head coach. Agree 100%. I don't want Saleh. And we're not talking about Saleh because he hasn't been interviewed. So, and I agree with you 100%. We're just going to be talking about guys right now who are actually got the call, because we're not going to talk about Brian Flores. And there's a couple of guys that the Oracle is going to talk to you about at the end that you may want to look for. But with Chris Shula, definitely intriguing. and we're coming up on the hour here. So we are going to go from Mike Shula. Any last thoughts on Chris Shula? Mike Shula, his dad was Mike Shula. Mike Shula was a coach for the Bengals.
Yeah, well, I think another guy that the Raiders brought in his name is Nathan Schliesshaus. And I think the reason they brought him in is they want to see how he would be as an offensive coordinator, because he's the passing game coordinator right now with the Rams. And if Chris Shula were to be the head coach of the Raiders, I think that would be his offensive coordinator. So I think the Raiders wanted to bring him in to see, kind of test his offensive acumen, and get his opinion on what he thinks of how he would make Fernando Mendoza a successful NFL quarterback.
Yes. Yeah. And again, if you guys are a Twitter guys, Ryan Holmes just did a real nice article, to-do article, kind of, I don't know what you call it, a video where they show how anal Sean McVay is, and they show this guy and what he's doing and what they do weekly. I mean, this guy, there's a reason why Sean McVay is the best head coach in the NFL right now. That guy is the best, and his systems, like I said, this guy's a chameleon, man. He can go ahead and run 3 wide receivers forever, and then next thing you know, he's running 2 tight ends. And Les Snead is another guy. Oracle did a great job on saying how the defense is for Chris Shula, but Les Snead finds those guys, the diamonds in the rough. And another thing about finishing up with Chris Shula is he rushes 5 every time. He's almost like what's the old man that used to coach the Rams? Wade
Phillips. Yeah,
he does a great job of kind of running that Wade Phillips style. Vic Fangio style, all different types of defense all in one. And I did see, we're not going to talk about him tonight, but we will get back to that, is Jesse Minter was summoned by the Raiders too. So after him, I'm going to jump over to this guy right here, Oracle, because I've been waiting for you've been teasing me about a question. So is Vance Joseph a real candidate for the Raiders, Mr. Spytek?
Well, it's funny you bring up Jesse Minter, because now with Jesse Minter coming in, the Raiders also brought up or called Matt Nagy, and now with Vance Joseph, so they're talking to guys in each team in the division. So I find that very interesting that they're trying to maybe get some information on their common foes. And we'll see if they're able to get anything from that. But, with Vance Joseph is interesting. He was a head coach for the Broncos a while back, and he never really had a quarterback, so it didn't really work out. With Vance Joseph, I think he runs a very innovative defensive scheme. Now, he has some really good players up in Denver, whether it's Zach Allen, whether it's Patrick Surtain, whether it's Nick Benito, Hufanga at safety. So, I think he's someone that I would – now, a lot of people in Raiderland would not be happy with a defensive coach, because whenever you hire a defensive coach, there's 2 questions that follow. What's your plan on offense? Who are you going to bring in? And then the other question they bring in is, what if the offensive guy does really well? That means he won't be there very long.
Right.
So
that's a great question.
So that's going to be the common theme with Vance Joseph. And he's someone I like. Now, I think it's going to be very interesting who he brings in on offense, because the Raiders also called for, I think he's only like 32 years old, but it's Davis Webb. Davis Webb was where's our guy from Cal? Who's he's got to jump in on this.
Yeah, Freitas. He was a Cal quarterback.
Yeah, definitely. He was the Cal quarterback after Jared Goff, but before that, he was at Texas Tech with Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield, and Cliff Kingsbury was his head coach. Now, Cliff Kingsbury was just fired in Washington. Now, interesting thing about Cliff Kingsbury is Cliff Kingsbury was this guy's college coach for a little bit. He recruited him to Texas Tech. Now, when Cliff Kingsbury was in Arizona, he had Vance Joseph as his defensive coordinator for 4 years.
Wow.
Now, another thing about Cliff Kingsbury, when he came out in the draft, he was drafted by the New England Patriots, and he was there with Tom Brady. So interesting enough that Tom Brady interviews Davis Webb, Vance Joseph, and both of them have a connection to Kingsbury. I don't know if that means that Kingsbury would maybe come along if Vance Joseph were the head coach, and maybe Kingsbury, because now I understand. Now I've heard a lot of good things about Davis Webb in the media, that he has a very good, strong acumen and stuff like that. Well schooled, being under Sean Payton in his coaching ranks. Now Denver, they had a really good offensive line. Probably one of the best offensive lines in football. I mean, Garrett Bowles was the first team All-Pro at left tackle. Quinn Miners was the first team All-Pro at right guard.
McGlinchey.
Again, McGlinchey solid at right tackle. So if Vance Joseph were to come along, because a lot of people want to know, how is this offensive line going to get fixed for the Raiders? Maybe they're able to bring in one of the assistant offensive line coach for the Broncos or something like that. So whether it's Vance Joseph is the head coach and Davis Webb is the offensive coordinator, could that be the pairing? Or is it Vance Joseph and Cliff Kingsbury? Now, Kingsbury has experience as a head coach and an offensive coordinator, so he might be a little more he might be more expensive, but at the same time, he might be a little more prepared for a guy like Fernando Mendoza. So that's I think there's definitely a lot to think about.
Don't want him.
You don't want? Why not?
I don't believe I was very interested in him when he got the job in Arizona, and I just don't think he did a good job. I feel like he's another, in my opinion, he reminds me a lot of McDaniels. I just don't want that.
Yeah.
Why did he get fired?
Not even as a coordinator?
As a coordinator, you know what? I think there's too much water under the bridge because he wanted more years and Davis didn't give it to him and he walked on us. And I think that, that's, then we went with Luke Getsy, and it's just, I just think that was a mess. And I think everybody's had red ass after that. And I don't like him. Why did he get fired? Dan Quinn seems like a really easy guy to please. I don't believe that. I mean, he did a great job the first year with Jaden Daniels. If he was an offensive coordinator, maybe, but not to lead my team. I've heard him in interviews, and he just doesn't strike me as a leader. I'm sorry, he just doesn't. That's just something that I mean, I like to see it on the field right now. And you know what? After Stefanski, I just don't know if I want to go with a retread, I just don't.
Yeah.
I'm just very weary of. I'd like somebody that. I mean, they're doing the right thing for the first time ever. The Raiders are going through the draft process like a normal NFL squad. They're going through. They're doing their due diligence, and I like it. I like it a lot. Like and subscribe. Sorry, guys, but my son grills me about that. So I just. His air raid offense doesn't fit Mendoza at all. Let's see. Kingsbury's a knob also. Pass on him. I believe that's not a good hire for – you're bringing in Mendoza. Let's bring in like somebody – let's see. You need an offensive coach, but not kick. See, and these guys are Raider fans. These are true Raider fans right here. You know what I'm saying? They're like – that's what you're going to get when you get somebody like Kingsbury. He has a McDaniels feel to me. So this is a very, very important year for the Raiders. The most important years that we've had for a long, long time. Let's see. Bet he would be hella.
Probably. I mean, hey.
I bet he would. He'd be, you know what? Me and my son would love to have Jeff Fisher come back and coach the Raiders. Could you imagine Jeff Fisher? Hell yeah. Smoke a couple Hooters, go down to the strip, have a Coors. Hell yeah. Those chicks don't. I'm 50. But,
oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Hey, he'd be bringing them the Bubba Gump.
Yeah. Bubba Gump. So, yeah. And you got to remember, this Fernando Mendoza guy, I don't say you have to get somebody like him because I think opposites attract as a head coach. Look at Curtin Signetti. You know what I mean? With Fernando Mendoza, polar opposites. But this Davis Webb guy, Man, Oracle, I got a feeling he's going to get it. I'm not saying I want him. That's not what I'm saying, because I don't know enough about him. I've looked and looked and looked, and the only thing that I can say that I found that's consistent, because one guy says this, one guy says that, one guy says this, nothing matches. But the one consistent thing I see is that the one guy who really likes him, and we'll watch this this weekend, is Bo Nix. Bo Nix is one of those guys that says, whoa, Jeff Fisher would be kind of sick.
Sure would, yeah, definitely.
Our crowd is just great. I mean, we have the best crowd.
Oh, we do, yeah, definitely, yeah,
we do.
Now, one thing about Davis Webb is now a lot of people are going to compare him to Sean McVay due to his age. Now, the thing you got to remember with McVay is McVay was an assistant coach. Close to a decade in the league before he became a head coach. Davis Webb has only been he was a player like 3 years ago. So I don't know if he's been an assistant coach that long to become a head coach. And same thing with Gruden. I mean, Gruden got hired when he was really young, but he was an assistant coach
with the Pack.
With the Packers, and he was the Eagles offensive coordinator too. So I think if Webb's going to come along, I think it would be if they really like Vance Joseph as a leader, they like him as a defensive schemer, and this would be Davis Webb's opportunity to really have full control of the offense. Now, you would have to deal with the question of, if Davis Webb is really good, he's going to get poached by another team. But look, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, because as long as he's here for because Fernando Mendoza's most important developmental season will be this season. And if you get a guy like Davis Webb but if you believe he's able to coach him up, that could be really beneficial for him.
All right, we're going to wrap this up. We are at the 1 hour mark, and my logarithms tell me that people don't like it after an hour, even though Oracle and I are just so appealing.
Yes.
This guy is getting all kinds of run today. Ravens asked to interview Webb. Where there's smoke, there's fire, bro. I get it. And you know what? Sometimes there's that guy that just jumps out at you. He's not getting this kind of run because he sucks. Like and subscribe. So this guy right now is really getting a lot of talk. And even after he blew the game against the Bears, I saw a report by Adam Schefter, the Shefty. I call him Shefty. He calls me, doesn't call me. But Shefty says Jeff Hafley was told by one owner, and he wouldn't say which owner it is, said that this guy is a hot commodity right now. Can you talk about that, the Oracle?
Yeah, well, look, Jeff Hafley, the defensive coordinator for the Packers. Now, it looks like Matt LaFleur. I'm getting my LaFleurs mixed up.
He ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be staying.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about. He ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, and I thought maybe they were moving on from LaFleur to promote Hafley, but it looks like that's not the case. And Hafley did a really good job with the defense. They had a ton of injuries, that Packer team, and it made me wonder, like, if they were able to have Tucker Kraft and Micah Parsons and even Josh Jacobs was hobbled throughout the entire year, how far could they have gone? But he was the head coach at Boston College briefly, and then he left to become the DC of the Packers. And like a lot of college coaches, they're just kind of fed up with where the game's going with the transfer portal. It's really hard to build a team when players are you have to constantly recruit the kids over and over again. And
to see him leave. That's why he didn't even play one of his bowl games, because he couldn't man the field.
Exactly. So, look, clearly people like his leadership skills. They like him as a schemer. I think he's a guy. Now, the one question with him that I'm having a hard time pinpointing is who is going to be his offensive guy. I didn't really get the research who on the Packers staff he would be able to bring along with.
New. This is so new. It's so
new.
It's so new. This one came right out of the thing. So I wanted to see what you thought about that with that one. Oracle, I'm going to give you the floor right now. I don't. There's going to be. There's some guys that that haven't been asked for an interview, and you had a great take, and I want you to share that with everybody. What you shared with me.
Well, this is a shot in the dark. And is it going to happen? Probably not. But if it does happen, I want you to know that this is the place where you heard it from. So I was scouring the internet a little bit and I was trying to find some connections. I'm like, Brady and Spytek were together in Tampa. Who are some guys that were in Tampa that they might feel they could be aligned with? And I happened to come across this guy, Harold Goodwin. Now, Harold Goodwin is currently the associate head coach for the Carolina Panthers. So if Dave Canales were to get sick from some bad shrimp at Bubba Gump, looks like Harold Goodwin would be the guy that would step in. And he's also the run game coordinator for them. And Harold Goodwin is a guy who was in Tampa on that championship team where Tom Brady and John Spytek were together. He's a Bruce Arians guy. He's a guy who was with Bruce Arians in Tampa. He was with Bruce Arians in Arizona throughout his tenure. And he's a guy that was also with the Indianapolis Colts as the offensive line coach when Bruce Arians was there too. And he was also in Pittsburgh with Bruce Arians as the offensive line coach and a quality control coordinator. Now, the other interesting thing about Harold Goodwin is I looked at where he went to college, and he went to the same school that Tom Brady and John Spytek went to, Michigan. He was a graduate assistant from 1995 to 1997, and that's when Brady was there. Then he became the offensive line coach at Eastern Michigan for 2 seasons. Then he was the O-line coach at Central Michigan for 3 seasons. Then he went to the Bears for 3 seasons as an assistant offensive line coach. Now, the reason I brought this name up is because I really think more than anything, Tom Brady and John Spytek, they want to be aligned. They want a head coach that is going to be aligned with their vision, because that is the problem that they ran into with Pete Carroll. They had a head coach who has his philosophies. They have Chip Kelly who has his philosophies. And I don't think they want to deal with that. I think they want to bring in someone who they could share a vision with. Yep. So, look, has Harold Goodwin ever been a head coach? No, he's just been an assistant head coach. From 2019 to today, whether it's with Bruce Arians or Todd Bowles. And he was with Dave Canales in Tampa in 2023 when Dave Canales was the OC. And then when Dave Canales went to Carolina, Dave Canales brought Harold Goodwin over with him as the assistant head coach and run game coordinator. So, and look, we got to ask ourselves, who would Harold Goodwin bring over from the offensive staff from Carolina? Well, you have to look at Brad Idzik, who's the offensive coordinator with the Carolina Panthers. And look, Bryce Young has played well this year. He's starting to improve and be a little bit better. If Harold Goodwin's the head coach, Harold Goodwin would be kind of the leader of men. He'd be someone who would help the offensive line. He'd be good in the run game. He'd instill toughness in the team. And then you'd have Brad Idzik, who would be the guy scheming up pass plays and really making sure that Fernando Mendoza is set up for success. And he'd be the guy that would be the tutelage to him. Now, again, you'd have to deal with the question of, if Brad Idzik does really well, what if another team hires him? Well, same thing kind of if you go the Chris Shula route with Nathan Schliessman or some other guys that if you have Davis Webb is your offensive coordinator. So, very interesting thing to look at.
I've always liked Bruce Arians' offense. Always.
Yeah.
And Bruce Arians did the best he could with Carson Palmer. That was that was a very, very significant team that they had. Oracle, we're running out of time. And
hey, Johnny, who do you think will be the head coach?
Man,
gun to your head.
Clint Kubiak, I think, is going to end up getting it. I keep hearing we are not talking about him because hasn't been interviewed. I keep hearing Flores' name. I don't want to get into that. There's things that I think about that, and I don't until it's real. Then we'll talk about it. I don't know. I don't know. And that's a good thing because I've always known.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, let's see. Memphis Rain says Kubiak will be the head coach.
I'm going to go Mike LaFleur.
Wow. I would be very happy with Mike LaFleur. I would love Mike LaFleur. What's this? Hold on before we get to damn, the Oracle's new name should be Jim Rockford of the Rockford Files.
Hey.
Impressive. Look at that. No, his name is Oracle. I have to pay for that. And then Tom Flores. Look at I shouldn't even put him up there. Tom Flores. No, Tom Flores. You know what? You can't get Tom Flores. He's unavailable. He's that guy's asleep by 5 o'clock like I am. I think it's going to be Kubiak. I would much rather have LaFleur because I like LaFleur. I love Shula. Anything coming out of the Rams, I like, and I would like to know what kind of character it is. But that's something we're going to continue on. If there is a head coach hired, we will come live that night. We're going to change it back to 6 o'clock. Everybody complained about the 5 o'clock start tonight, so we'll go back to 6. But Oracle, we have an announcement to make.
Yes.
The Oracle and I are going to do Spanky's Clubhouse podcast on Monday night for the national championship game. So you can grab a soda, grab a whatever you guys grab, come and watch the game with us. We're going to be live the whole game. We're going to start 10 minutes before the game because I don't like all that pregame stuff where you hoop it up and talk about things that aren't going to be put that stuff that's not going to did I say you said Sparky? You said Spanky's Clubhouse. If you guys know who Spanky is and the R Gang, we're going to have an R Gang type of atmosphere where if you want to come on the show during there, you send me your email and I will give you my text. I will give you the email to send it at, and you could come on the show and help us. And you guys could do whatever you want, talk about whatever you want. This is going to be a Spanky's Clubhouse night where you are invited to come live on here. And anytime you come live, the Oracle will send you an 8x10 glossy signed with your name on it. Not a lithograph there.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, hold on. You know. Brian Flores is suing the NFL. Davis does not want to go there and risk ruining the relationship he's tried to repair since taking over the Raiders. Did see that. Now, we're not talking about that because I don't want no bad juju. But, yes, you're right, 100%, Freitas. My Portuguese. Hey, I made linguiça today. Wait till you see it. So we will be live. We want people to come on live, as many people as we can. We want you to come on. We want to see the faces behind the names. Come on, and then don't come on in the last. Try to get on the last quarter if Mendoza's doing really good. Try to come on, give us your take, like Jim Rome says, and don't suck. And we will take you guys on. Each and every one that wants to come on, you guys can come on, and as long as you're interesting, you can stay on. We're not going to cut off anybody that's making sense, but we want to try to get everybody on we can. So if we get you off, don't take it personal. But I wanted to show this one more time because I like this. Flores can stay on the Vikings. Okay. When we get to that point, we will gig everybody's. We're not at that point yet, but yeah, I understand. But here, look at this. Sucks if you're a Charger fan. Gosh. Ugh. Oh.
Chargers will charge.
I'm going to have to say, thanks, Bates. So kiss your mom for me. She was great. Kiss your mom for me. She's a great person.
Oh, that was your teacher, right?
Homeroom teacher, yeah. But just seeing this, you're going to go into every playoff game if you're a Charger fan going, what the F? Is this guy going to show up? What the F? I personally don't think he's got the Cayans. I don't think he's got the Dos Amigos under his belly buttons. Just don't think he does. Don't think he does. I'd be worried if I was a Charger fan. You paid like a guy a lot of money.
Yeah.
He was hurt, and his offensive line was hurt. You get a pass. Phillip Rivers was hurt, and his offensive line was hurt. He played pretty good. David Freitas, go Bills. Let's get Denver out too. Yes. I'm not going to say anything bad because Dan Pearson loves the show, but there's another team that probably some of you guys want gone. You know, the Niners. There's a lot of Raider fans that do not like the Niners. So we will see you guys Monday night. Is the game on at 5:00? I'm sure it is, right?
Let me check real quick.
Let's check on that because we will be there 10 minutes before. Remember, guys, like the show. Please like the show. I appreciate it. We're close to getting Raider Dad his money. Anything we make will go straight to Raider Dad. We're close. I know that. We're close.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we want to make sure that some family is able to go and
First-time
watch
families.
for the first time. Watch Fernando Mendoza. It starts at 4:30.
4:30 is the pregame, or is that when it is?
I believe that's when it starts. That's what Google says.
Google it.
Google it. Interesting. I guess because it's in Miami, it'd be 7:30 over there. Makes sense. It's probably gonna start. It's probably gonna start at 4:45. I bet.
Okay, so you know what? We're gonna go on at 4:30.
Okay.
Let's just go on at 4:30. We can fill a bus. We need some of you guys to come on the show and help us out. So with that, Oracle, do you have any last words?
No, this was a great show. I really love talking about this.
Oh, you did a great job as always. And your attorney's bending me over the coals already. So he's already.
Rockford said,
he's
I'm
asking.
plus expenses.
I don't want to have to pay you overtime.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll see you Monday night, 4:30. Good night now.
Good night now.
Now it's Ciani to the left. Biletnikoff to the right against Marsalis. Back is Lamonica. Throws for Biletnikoff. Touchdown Raiders! Biletnikoff is having words right now with Marsalis. Fred caught that ball after quite a physical battle with Marsalis in the right corner of the end zone. He went on out of the end zone, and then instead of slamming the ball into the turf, he ran back in about 10 yards to where Marsalis was and defiantly slammed it in the turf in front of Marsalis. The two tight ends are lined up as tight ends. Back goes Darrell to pass. He's looking for Smith, but instead goes down the middle. Chester, touchdown Raiders! Holy Toledo! What a great ball! 19 yards and a Raider touchdown to make it 22-3. Chester had gotten free at the 5 and was all alone in the end zone 2 yards in. The Chargers now have a brilliant opportunity to put this game away. Here's Williams to the left, Garrison to the right, flanks right, Charlie Smith out to the left as a wingback, leaves only one back to block, that's Hubbard. Lamonica back, gets fine blocking, now he throws down the middle, Branch at the 20. Branch at the 18, tripped up, keeps going, reverses to the 15, he's at the 10, he dances down to the 9-yard line. First and goal to go Raiders. 1 minute and 30 seconds left to go, and hang on to your hats. Branch is still in. He goes to the right, slotted inside Biletnikoff. 5 defensive backs in there. Lamonica gives to Smith, sending him to the left. He's got Upshaw in front. He's at the 5. He's at the 2. It's a touchdown Raiders! Charlie Smith from 9.5 yards out. Oakland has gone in front. Clarence Davis is in for Charlie Smith. He's a deep threat on pass reception. Back goes Stabler to pass. Steps away from the rush. He's going to run up the left side. 30, 25, 20, 15.